Well, hi folks, meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with SouthernIndianaWeather.com. Thanks for watching my little updated winter preview here. As a reminder, my winter preview does officially come out on September 24th. I'll have my final winter forecast on November the 5th. I'll have it here in the video format over on my blog on SouthernIndianaWeather.com as well. Last time I did a winter video here was about July the 23rd. It was some early winter ideas. I want to update some winter ideas, take you through a little bit of the data that I'm working through as I'm building my winter forecast package here up here. And now, first thing I want to do is I just want to sort of talk to you about what we're going on with La Nina, the state of the ocean, and all of that good jazz. So if we look out here, what you've got is there is what your La Nina is. It's still trying to develop. It has not developed yet. In fact, La Nina Watch had been in effect for the past few months. NOAA actually canceled the La Nina Watch today. They're saying that La Nina just not going to happen. So I do think it's going to stay on the cool side of normal, but ENSO neutral conditions are more likely this winter. And of course, the other thing that we're concerned about as well is your PDO, the waters up here, your Pacific Decadal Oscillation. That is actually starting to decay. If you just sort of take a look at it, you notice now we've got some cooler waters here starting to show up along the coasts here that you didn't have, and this is actually significantly all over here is actually significantly cooler than it was during the height of the warm PDO. Let me just take the PDO here over here from August 21st, 2015, and let me just sort of show you what those temperature anomalies were like. Let me slide this out of the way here, and that gives you a pretty good little idea. There we go. Now, let me just illustrate this. Notice how much warmer all of this water was than really what you see over here. You notice there's some pretty significant differences here. First, this was an El Nino over here. You've got it transition into the La Nina. But you had this little warm tongue over here, but otherwise it was just a major warm blob. Now you've got some cold starting to infiltrate it, and then specifically you've got some cold right here along the coasts that is starting to infiltrate it. You didn't have any of that over here. It was in an occasional little dot or so of it, but pretty much it was just all warm as you went over into that. Well, those days are pretty much gone now. The record warm PDO is gone. We started to decay, and actually we have hit a negative PDO now in the data for the first time in really about 3 years or so here. So you can see lots of changes going on here in the data. All right, let's talk about La Nina here really quickly then. La Nina, it's struggling at best. It's been up and down in the data. So we sort of spiked. El Nino was dead, and then it dipped down, and then we spiked back up just a little bit. It dipped down, and it was kind of an up and down, up and down. Looked like in July, oh, maybe this thing's starting to get established, but nope, it went right back up, and then it's been up and down ever since. Let me just sort of draw a red line here at about the negative ½ degree Celsius line. This would be the threshold for what we consider a La Nina. You have to stay under that consecutively through 3 straight months to be able to be considered a La Nina. You don't have that. You have an up and down pattern, up and down pattern. The latest value as of today is a negative almost 0.9 that you can see there. So it's certainly cool, and if it were consistently staying at that, it would be a borderline moderate La Nina event. But what you can see is we've been there before. You've been at a negative 1.0 down here, and then you started the descent and you moved up into the week, and then you came down pretty good, and then you went up, you went down pretty good, and you went back up. Now you're on a pretty good little decline here again, but realistically, you're probably going to go up again. That's what this thing has been doing. It's just been going up and down, up and down, up and down. And the reality is, La Ninas do not like to form whenever you have really warm waters up here when you've got a warm PDO. And I think the warm PDO is just really hampering this La Nina to getting developed. Now, it's trying. It's the little engine that could, maybe, I don't know, but it's trying. But I do think that this developing or trying to develop La Nina has had an effect on the PDO, and I think that's partly what is cooling the PDO again. But it is not there yet, and it's going to be a little while. We may not even get a La Nina out of it. In fact, if we just take a look at some of what the modeling is suggesting here, the ensemble mean here of the SSTCA, the constructed analogs model here, data through the end of August. Here's what you see. The ensemble members are all in the colors here, but the black line is your ensemble mean. 0.5 again is your threshold, so your threshold is down through here, and look what it does. By the time you get into DJF, December, January, February, it is suggesting near neutral conditions, and the later you head in the winter, here's February, March, and April, it is suggesting a very pretty much INSO neutral conditions here, just on the cool side of neutral. Anything from positive 0.5 down to negative 0.5 would be INSO neutral conditions. It's on the cool side of normal, and it's going to stay that way for a while, the way things look according to this particular model. It is not alone in suggesting that. The latest NMME model, which has come out here, the September plumes are suggesting that we say pretty much the trend would be neutral there as well, especially as we head into the winter. Here's December, January, February right in here, and you're nearing the neutral conditions for all of those as well. If you look at even the ECMWF, for plumes from September 1, you see that same suggestion, especially as you get into December, January, February. Here you go, you're near INSO neutral conditions. Even the mid-August plumes there from the IRI CPC, most of them INSO neutral, only a couple of them here suggesting that we might go into La Nina. Once this gets run for the mid-September run, I suggest that's going to change. These have actually been warming rather than cooling every month now since June. So bottom line is everything is looking to me like we are going to have INSO neutral conditions. On the cool side, yes, but probably not a La Nina. It's going to struggle to develop, and most likely it won't. They've officially only given it, NOAA has officially only given it now a 40% chance of development. PDO probably going to be your bigger thing. One last model here, your POAMA model. This is your Australian model, again suggesting INSO neutral conditions as we head into the winter time. Again, your PDO is probably going to be the bigger driver this year. It is whenever you have a neutral conditions. The PDO, oftentimes, if it's strong, can take over. Here's what a warm PDO looks like. Your warm PDO has a horseshoe there of above average SST anomalies here around the coast into the Gulf of Alaska and down here, and you've got a sort of a cooler tongue here out into that. The cold phase of the PDO is just the exact opposite of that. Reverse them around. Go back here, and what do you have? Well, a mess right now. You don't have either one of them firmly established. You've got some warm conditions right up in here, and then you have some cooler conditions starting to develop over here, but you are still pretty warm over in here, and you do have a little bit of a cold nose in here, so it's still a little bit more of a warm phase PDO look to it than it is a cold phase PDO, but it is a decaying PDO. The question is, can that PDO recover? If you look at the actual data, we've been decaying for a while. As you headed in here, we started out, these are the numbers for the PDO. You were positive 1.55 back in March, 1.459 here rather in April, but we decayed, and we're now to negative 0.66 for the August PDO value. So we have decayed into negative category. Can we return? If you look at what the data suggests here, the PDO index here, this is from the CFS model here, and it is suggesting we do return back into a warm PDO, but on the mild side, more of a weak PDO. And really all of these little lines here are your individual ensemble forecast members. Your ensemble mean here is the red line, the average of these. So there's plenty of data here suggesting that you go up into the warm, plenty of the data suggesting you go here into the cool as well, so you kind of get the mean out of there. Bottom line is it's not going to be a strong PDO one way or the other. It might remain near neutral conditions. Anywhere from positive 0.5 to negative 0.5 of the PDO is pretty much neutral conditions. Slightly, whether it's slightly warm or whether it's slightly cool, it's going to be in that range of neutrality that really whenever you're building a winter forecast, you got to consider all of that as you head into it. So that's one of the things I look at whenever I am building some analogs here. All right, let me just talk here about some of the modeling really quickly. The modeling from August does suggest that we have that warm PDO. You can see that's what it suggests. The modeling from August here, this is a JAMSTEC model. It's been reasonably good over the past few years, although last winter it wasn't that great. You can see it suggested a La Nina here, but it's gotten worse every time. If you go back in time for July, July actually suggested maybe a little bit stronger PDO and stronger La Nina, and I think the same way with June, if I remember. Yeah, June especially that. So it's been decaying over time as well. And of course, we need some consistency to really use this model, and you don't have it. You had it being back in June. The June run really burned us with warmth, and if you went back into the July run, it gave us a very cool look in the eastern United States, and then the August run burned us with warmth again. So the September run will probably be out in a couple of days. Just about any day now it should be out. It'll be out whenever I do my winter forecast video on the preview video on the 24th, where I'll have some hand-drawn maps and some of echoing some of my thoughts. It'll be there, but back and forth on this as far as it goes right now. So mixed signals there. One thing that has been consistent, I will say this, is the constructed analogs, the SST constructed analog forecast. Now it has this, its latest one has this for the December, January, February, and you notice it's starting us off with more neutral conditions here, with maybe a little bit of warmth, but by the time you get into January, February, March, that's whenever it's starting to go cold. So it's seen basically a slow start to winter, and then once winter really gets going, it kicks in a pretty good winter for the eastern half of the country again. I will give it credit, it has been consistent on this. Here is the newest one that came out. This has the data through August, the data through July had the same thing. The data through June had the same thing. So 3 consistent months in a row now. The constructed analogs have suggested sort of a cooler than normal. That gives us some weight with it. Now, if I play around with it, and if we start to build some analog packages again, what I'm doing whenever I look at things is I take a look at some analogs and I decide, well, what could winter look like based off of past conditions? And so I'm going back to here and I'm saying, well, what does the PDO look like, and what is that probably going to look like in the winter? What does the ENSO region look like? Does it look like we're going to have a La Nina, or is it going to stay ENSO neutral? Is it going to be very weak? I also take into account the AMO, which is the Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation. It's warm right now, just slightly. Is it going to go back into the cold phase? There's a very good chance that it will. So you want to take in all these accounts, and what I do whenever I do it is I take a multitude of things in it. So because I know that we're going to be going with La Nina conditions, what I have done is I build my nice little winter worksheet here in Excel, and I look at some years that I specifically investigate, what the ONI, the Oceanic Nino Index, whether it's El Nino, La Nina, neutral conditions. I look at the PDO, the AMO. To a certain extent, I use the QBO as well, but I haven't really used it much for this particular analog package yet. Based off of that, I take a look at some current analogs and say this is the ones that I'm looking. And so most of what I see here, you look at the ONI, and basically I've got only one that would be considered a decent La Nina, and that was 2000, 2001 here. I've got some other La Ninas in here. There's another one, 05, 06. But most of them you see a 0, negative 0.1, positive 0.1, negative 0.5. I've got a lot of neutrals in there along with just a couple of La Ninas. PDO, I've got mostly warm, but I've thrown a few in here that account for that negative, because I think the PDO could be anywhere from negative 0.5 to positive 0.5, borderline. AMO is going to be very weak this winter as well. I believe it's going to be very weak positive or very weak negative. It's going to hover around that as well. So I've chosen some of my analogs that are going to be based off of that. And then here's basically what I have done because of that. I build a little analog package that takes a look at it. And here is looking at the 500 millibar charts, some things that you can see based off of that, based off of my analogs. Once you get here in the January, February, March time frame, remember we're looking at a slow start to winter, and I really believe that. So I'm looking here at the heart of winter. What have you got going on? You got the Bermuda Ridge here, the southeast ridge of high pressure, really pumping up here. But so that's probably going to keep some warmth as we go here, into the southeast and the coast. You got the ridge of high pressure here out in the Atlantic Ocean, and that's keeping up a fairly decently consistent ridge out for a good chunk of the west down here as well. But then you've got a nice little trough dip in the jet stream, a consistent dip in the jet stream, sort of like this. All right. Notice what you got up here too, though. Another sign that could be a potentially good sign here for winter is these warm signals up here, signaling you might get some blocking up in the Greenland block, which could make the NAO go negative. That's a possibility based on the analogs, not a guarantee by any means. But what I am seeing here as I look into everything is that it looks like there's going to be a pretty deep trough consistently over a good chunk of the country here, and it looks like the northern plains really going to be the consistent with this. And as you head into where I'm at here in Indiana, kind of on the borderline here between whether we're going to be in that trough or whether we're going to be ridged out here. So cold snaps certainly possible, but the persistent cold likely going to stay up to the north. I'm thinking the Great Plains, maybe down into northern Indiana, and then up here into parts of interior New England, really going to get the persistent cold this year from the way things look to me right now. If you look at the temperature data from these years, you see that as well. The analogs here with the temperature ideas, again, keeping a pretty warm southeast here, and pretty much anything in white is normal, but then you've got a pretty consistent persistent cold as you get up here into the northern plains, and where I am here in southern Indiana area, kind of here on the border here, where we could have some cold air invasions come in, but we're not with a persistent cold and we're not with a persistent warm. So near normal to slightly below is kind of the way things are looking in the analogs right now. So kind of a wild card back and forth winter. All right, just a reminder, September 24th, that's whenever my winter forecast is going to be released. This graphic's a few days old, so it's not 21 days away now. This is the 8th as I am recording this, so just a little over 2 weeks actually now. But September 24th, I'll have my winter preview out. Whenever I issue my winter preview, I'm going to show you some things about expected storm tracks, where I think the active storm tracks are going to be. I'm going to give you some winter highlights, and I'm going to give you where I think the above normal snow will fall, where I think the above normal and below normal temperatures would be, so you'll want to check back with that. I will then, come November the 5th, update that one final time for the winter before things get rolling again. All right, thanks for watching this little winter preview ideas video here, folks. Check back September 24th. I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite with SouthernIndianaWeather.com. Thanks for watching, folks. And be sure to subscribe.